We all know thalassophobia, or the irrational fear of what's in the deep water, and that has given us a plethora of impressive aquatic creatures and deep-sea monsters in movies. You know, like the Kraken, the Megalodon, the Karathan, Leviathans and many more. But what about the things that are beneath the ground? Shouldn't you be more afraid of those, since most of us spend the entirety of our lives on the surface, instead of on a boat? Here we will showcase the biggest subterranean or underground monsters from movies. We won't be including the creatures that only hibernate there, or the ones that use tunnels to go to the hollow earth, but those creatures who specifically burrow beneath you and use the ground as their habitat and hunting ground. Let's begin. At 15 we have the Sand Gobbler. The Queen Sand Gobbler is a dangerous creature in the 2020 film called Love and Monsters. These are subterranean lamprey-like creatures that burrow through the earth. They are formed by mutation after a nuclear holocaust, which made normal creatures mutate into monstrous forms over the course of generations. The Sand Gobbler is one such predatory creature that most likely came from a leech as a base organism, or maybe another species of annelid. At number 14 we have the Blood Beach Monster. The Blood Beach Monster is the main. At 13 we have the Queen Mongolian Deathworm. So the Mongolian Deathworms are the main monsters in the 2010 horror film called Mongolian Deathworm. In the movie, a group of Americans drilled for oil in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, only to stumble upon a hidden nest of these terrifying underground creatures. These worms are like graboids, but with jaws full of 4 strong mandibles and a circular toothed mouth just like those of lampreys. The creatures can burrow through the earth, shrug off damage with their armored skin, and even disrupt electronic equipment with an electromagnetic pulse or field. On top of that, they have venomous bites and a strong jaw, which makes them lethal predators, and also with a prehensile, extruding tongue.
Must be a million of them!
At number 12 we have the most famous, the Graboids. These are the main monsters from the Tremors franchise, starting with a 1990 cult classic film called Tremors. These creatures are massive. They are subterranean worm-like predators that live underground and hunt using vibrations from movement on the surface. Graboids are about 30 feet or 9 meters long, or 50 feet for the African species, and they look like giant armored worms. They have thick leathery skins covered in hardened segments. Their most terrifying feature is a set of 3 long snake-like tentacles that shoot from their mouths, each with their own smaller head that can grab and pull prey into the main beast's gullet. 11. We have the Sand Serpents. These are giant worm-like monsters that live under the desert sands of Afghanistan in the horror film called Sand Serpents. These creatures look like enormous grey worms with segmented bodies and terrifying circular mouths full of sharp teeth, kinda like a meat grinder. They stay hidden beneath the sand and burst out without warning to attack. They're massive in size, 100 feet long, incredibly strong, and can tunnel through the earth effortlessly to attack their prey. Number 10. Diabolus. So Diabolus is a wyvern, a massive dragon-like creature seen in the movie called Monster Hunter. It walks on 2 legs and it is covered in thick armored scales that make it really hard to hurt. The most eye-catching part, 2 enormous bull-like horns on its head, just above the glowing red eyes. It also has sharp tusks, a white frill around its neck, and a thick clubbed tail that it can use for defense or as a weapon. The Diabolus is not just a brute, it is also very smart. It can dig underground quickly and pop up to ambush people or disappear if things get too dangerous. Number 9. Baragon. So this is the first kaiju here. It is a mammal-like reptilian monster that digs underground and bursts up from beneath to surprise its enemies. It has big floppy ears, a glowing horn on its head, and looks like almost cute until he starts smashing things. He can leap long distances and breathe a heat rays. Baragon first appeared in the movie called Frankenstein vs. Baragon and later showed up again in several Godzilla films. Think of him as a kaiju-sized gremlin with a unicorn horn and serious tunneling skills. Number 8. Megalon. This is another kaiju. It is a giant beetle-like kaiju with drills for hands. He can tunnel through the earth with ease, shooting lightning from his horn and spit bombs from his mouth. He is the guardian monster of the underground kingdom of Seatopia, and Megalon was unleashed upon the surface world after repeated nuclear tests that ravaged Seatopia. Megalon is flashy, wild and chaotic, and he is seen teaming up with Gigan in Godzilla vs. Megalon in 1973. Now at number 7 we have the Skull Crawlers. These are terrifying reptilian monsters seen in Kong Skull Island 2017. These creatures are long, they are snake-like, and walk on two muscular forelimbs, but they have no legs. Their bodies are thin, but incredibly strong. They are covered in dark leathery skin. Their skull-like heads give them their names, and they have long prehensile tongues and prehensile tails. Skullcrawlers live underground most of the time and often burst out of the earth to ambush their prey. They are always starving, aggressive, and were responsible for wiping out Kong's species on Skull Island. Going on to number 6, we have Gabbora. This kaiju originated from the Ultraman franchise and has been reimagined in various forms multiple times. He's not really smart, but he's powerful and hard to stop once he's moving. Gabbora is a reptilian monster with a unique armored head that can open up like a flower into 4 deadly flaps and makes it look like a metal tulip with a temper. Gabbora lives underground most of the time and is often seen drilling through the earth or bursting up from beneath cities to destroy the human world. Number 5. Sarlacc. The Sarlacc is a legendary creature from the Star Wars universe, most famously seen in Return of the Jedi. It is a massive plant-like beast that buries itself in the desert sand with only its tooth-filled mouth exposed. Surrounding the pit are tentacles and a big tongue that pull victims inside. Once someone falls in, the Sarlacc slowly digests them over the course of hundreds or even thousands of years. It's basically a living pit trap with a stomach that never stops working, and once you're inside, unless you have a jetpack or you're a Mandalorian, there's no coming out. And even though it seems small, its overall body size when it was seen in the release artwork is massive, around 100 meters or so, or maybe even bigger. At number 4, we have the Weirworms. These are mysterious creatures mentioned briefly by Bilbo in the Hobbit book, where he says that they live far away in the Lost Desert, beyond a known world. It is never really clear if they're real or just a scary story that hobbits tell around campfires. However, in the movie The Battle of the Five Armies by Peter Jackson, these creatures actually show up. Azog uses them like living drills to dig massive tunnels beneath the mountains to get his army close to the city of Dale without being noticed. In the film, they're absolutely enormous, around 400 feet long and 75 feet wide, as was stated by the digital artist of that movie. And Gandalf in the movie calls them Weirworms, but despite their terrifying size, they don't fight in the battle, fortunately. Now on the 3rd spot we have Girus. He is one of Godzilla's oldest allies and best friends, but started out as enemies. He is a spiky ankylosaurus-like monster covered in tough armor and a clubbed tail, and he hibernated beneath the earth for millions of years. Though he doesn't have beam attacks like some of his flashier kaiju friends, Girus makes up for it with sheer toughness, tenacity, and the ability to dig underground rapidly and be there for a long time. He is often seen as the scrappy underdog of the kaiju world, charging headfirst into battle with surprising bravery, and although his maximum height is 50 meters, or so depending on the movie version, whether Showa, Heisei, Millennium or Reiwa, his length is always more than 3 times his height. On the 2nd spot we have the Shai Hulud, the Dune Sandworm. So the sandworms of Dune are colossal entities of the desert planet called Arrakis. Ranging from hundreds to over thousands of meters long, these titanic worms tunnel beneath the sands and are drawn to rhythmic vibrations, often devouring anything that disturbs the surface. Their massive circular jaws are lined with rows of crystalline teeth. Despite their fearsome nature, the sandworms are deeply tied to the ecology of the planet of Arrakis and are the source of the spice melange, the most valuable substance in the known universe. Worshipped by the native Fremen as divine beings, the sandworms are also the base of the galaxy's spacefaring economy. And the biggest of them all is the Behemothal. The Behemothal is the ultimate intelligence and the command organism of the arachnid species in the Starship Troopers universe, and was seen first in Marauders. Vast in size, which can be said to be cardinal if not half of that of an entire world, and at least the head part seems to resemble a grotesque fusion of an insect and a brain tissue, and is kaiju size, just the head part. It is the central mind behind the arachnid strategies and is capable of coordinating massive bug armies across star systems and even telepathy. Buried deep beneath the ground in bug hives, the Behemothal is protected by layers of warriors and defensive organisms, and even the surface of the planet. And when this creature comes out, the whole planet shakes. It is that big. And with that we end this video. Now if you like this one, then check this other one too, the one in the end screens. And do also take a look at our channel, we might have things you haven't seen before. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, fam.